Hello friends, welcome back to this journey through Plato's Apology. The link to the text that I'm using is in the description below. You can follow along. I'm going to be starting where he says, I have said enough. I have said enough in my defense. So what he's saying is that he's given his defense against his first accusers. Who are these? The people who were spreading rumors, who developed prejudices and biases against Socrates because of his own search for wisdom. The people who used to talk when the jurors were young. Right? Again, he's got this jury of maybe 300 landowners or so, and most of them are younger than he is, and they grew up hearing about this guy, Socrates. Everyone's spreading rumors about him, and he's trying to defend against them. So he's given his defense as best he could against them, boxing with shadows, as he says. And now he's going to turn to the people in front of him, the accusers that are there with him in the court. He says, I have said enough in my defense against the first class of my accusers. I turn to the second class, who are headed by Meletus, that good and patriotic man, as he calls himself. Maybe a hint of sarcasm. He's patriotic because he loves his country so much. He's going to do away with this guy Socrates, who's ruining the country. And now I will try to defend myself against them. These new accusers must also have their affidavit read. What do they say? Something of this sort: that Socrates is a doer of evil and a corrupter of the youth, and he does not believe in the gods of the state, and has other new divinities of his own. That is the sort of charge, and let us now examine the particular counts. He says that I am a doer of evil who corrupt the youth. But I say, O men of Athens, that Meletus is a doer of evil, and the evil is that he makes a joke of serious matter. So again, he's a doer of evil. What's the evil that he's doing? That he corrupts the youth. Socrates turns it back and he says, Meletus is a doer of evil. And what's the evil that he's doing? He is making a joke of serious matter. Right? And so what's the serious matter we're going to see? It's what corrupts the youth. How you improve the youth, how you corrupt the youth. He's going to cross-examine Meletus on that point. And is too ready at bringing other men to trial from a pretended zeal and interest about matters in which he really never had the smallest interest. And the truth of this I will endeavor to prove. Right, so the serious matter is improving the youth. But he doesn't really have an interest in that, Socrates says. And here he goes. Come hither, Meletus, and let me ask a question of you. You think a great deal about the improvement of youth, Meletus. Yes, I do. Tell the judges then, who is their improver? For you must know, as you have taken the pains to discover their corrupter and are citing and accusing me before them. So he's saying, I think sarcastically here, Meletus must really care about the youth, and he must know what improves their youth. If Meletus can so easily identify and then call out Socrates because he's corrupting the youth, then he must know what it is that improves the youth. What is it that makes young people to become good adults? How do you get them to that point? It's an interesting point just for us to think about, right? It brings up the whole point of education. What is education? And what's the point of it? What does it mean? What's the best way to do it? What is it to be a good adult? I mean, what's the goal in the first place? Right? Tell the judges then, who is their improver? Yeah, I said that in our citing. So speak then and tell the judges who their improver is. Meletus says nothing. Observe, Meletus, that you are silent and have nothing to say. But is not this rather disgraceful and a very considerable proof of what I was saying, that you have no interest in the matter? Speak up, friend, and tell us who their improver is. Meletus says, the laws. So he's saying that the laws of Athens, right, which were highly regarded, by the way, that was one of the things about Athens that they were proud of, was the laws that they had been set up and put in place, maintaining this democracy. Athens is one of the first places that we look to in setting up our government as well in the United States for a democracy and what it can look like. So the laws are great, and that's what helps the youth, according to Meletus. But Socrates calls him out. But that, my good sir, is not my meaning. I want to know who the person is, who in the first place knows the laws. Okay. So the laws, they can exist on their own, but then how are those laws communicated? Who knows them? How are they instructed to the youth? It's not like you just give the Constitution to the youth and then they're better. Right? The judges, Socrates, who are present in court. So he says the jury. These are the people who know the laws. They're the judges. So they must know the laws, and then they are the improvers of the youth. What do you mean to say, Meletus, that they are able to instruct and improve youth? Certainly they are, Meletus replies. What, all of them, or some only and not others? All of them. There are a lot of judges there, by the way. So Socrates replies, wow, by the goddess Hera, this is good news. There are plenty of improvers then. And what do you say of the audience? Do they improve them? So he's like, the judges, these are the people, all of them, all of these people, they help the youth to become good adults. They improve the youth. Wow, it's great. Well, how about the rest of them, the audience, right? Do they improve the youth also? Meletus replies, yes, they do. And the senators? Meletus replies, yes, the senators improve them too. Socrates, but perhaps the members of the citizen assembly corrupt them, or do they improve them too? They improve them, Meletus replies. Then every Athenian, so now he's basically included everybody. Meletus has said, yes, the citizens, the senators, the rest of the audience, the judges, all of these people improve the youth, right? Somehow this is tied to the law in the mind of Meletus. So this is amazing. I mean, this is great news as far as Socrates is concerned. Sarcastic, of course, right? Then every Athenian improves and elevates them, all with the exception of myself. And I alone am their corrupter. Is that what you affirm? And Meletus replies, that is what I stoutly affirm. So what Socrates has gotten Meletus to say is that all of Athens is good for the youth, right? Everybody else improves the youth, but Socrates is the only one who corrupts them. Socrates replies, I am very unfortunate if that is true. But suppose I ask you a question. Would you say that this also holds true in the case of horses? How about that? Does one man do them harm and all the world good? Is not the exact opposite of this true? One man is able to do them good, or at least not many. The trainer of horses, that is to say, does them good, and others who have to do with them rather injure them. Right. So when it comes to something like a horse, right, there are the trainers of horses. They're the ones who know how to improve the horse, and that's kind of a select small group. So he's saying, well, then wouldn't it be sort of similar that with the youth, there's kind of a select group of people who know how to improve them instead of just everybody, right? You don't just take your horse and give it to anybody to train them. It has to be a particular person, or maybe even among trainers, the right trainer for that horse. I heard my sister-in-law actually just got a horse, and she had to, there's one trainer that just wasn't working out, and then brought the horse to another trainer, and it worked well. So even among the trainers, there might be a particular trainer. It's better for some horses than others. Is not that true, Meletus, of horses and of other animals? Yes, Meletus says, whether you and Anytus say yes or no, that is no matter. Happy indeed would be the condition of youth if they had one corrupter only and all the rest of the world were their improvers. I mean, that would be something, right? If everybody in the whole world, except one or two, just a small group, actually made them better, right? Actually helped to make the youth more excellent. It's kind of like everything that they came in contact was actually improving them and helping them to become better versions of themselves. But I think that leave it to you to judge and decide. And you, Meletus, have sufficiently shown that you never had a thought about the young. Your carelessness is seen in your not caring about matters spoken of in this very indictment. So he's basically shown how ridiculous what Meletus said is. Right? It doesn't make any sense that everything and everybody would improve the youth and only one person would corrupt them. And now, Meletus, I must ask you another question. Which is better, to live among bad citizens or among good ones? Answer, friend, I say, for that is a question which may be easily answered. Do not the good do their neighbors good, and the bad do them evil. Okay, so what is a good neighbor? Is someone who does good to his neighbors. Right? He lives in a right relationship with them. A bad neighbor does evil to his neighbors. And Meletus agrees with this, certainly. Socrates, and is there anyone who would rather be injured than benefited by those who live with him? Right, so someone who's living in a community, they want good neighbors. They want people who are going to benefit them. Answer, my good friend, the law requires you to answer. Does anyone like to be injured? Certainly not, Meletus replies. Socrates, and when you accuse me of corrupting and deteriorating the youth, do you allege that I corrupt them intentionally or unintentionally? So Socrates says, well, if I do evil to them, are you accusing me of doing evil to them on purpose or accidentally? And Meletus says, intentionally, I say. So he's accusing Socrates of doing evil to the youth on purpose. Socrates replies, but you have just admitted that the good do their neighbors good and the evil do them evil. Now, is that a truth which your superior wisdom has recognized thus early in life? And am I, at my age, in such darkness and ignorance, as not to know that if a man with whom I have to live is corrupted by me, I am very likely to be harmed by him, and yet I corrupt him, and intentionally too. So he's saying, look, you realize that we want to live among good people who do us good, and not among bad people who injure us. You've realized that at your age, your superior wisdom, right? Sense of sarcasm there, probably. And Socrates is saying, well, I would know that too. I'm an old man, and I know that if I corrupt the youth, then I am likely to be harmed by them. If I corrupt them, I make them worse. Bad people, evil people, do harm to their neighbors, and I am one of their neighbors, and so they would come back at me. So I have that understanding as well, and I wouldn't intentionally do them harm. He says, but that is what you are saying, and of that you will never persuade me or any other human being. So he's saying again, like, this is a ridiculous thing. You're not really going to be able to convince people that this is the case. But either I do not corrupt them, or I corrupt them unintentionally. So since he has that wisdom, then there are only two options left. Either he does not corrupt them, he improves them, or what he's doing is unintentional. So that on either of you of the case, you lie. If my offense is unintentional, the law has no cognizance of unintentional offenses. If it's merely accidental, then he can't be punished for that. You ought to have taken me privately and warned and admonished me. For if I had been better advised, I should have left off doing what I only did unintentionally. No doubt I should. So he's saying if he was doing this unintentionally, then it would be better to pull him aside and instruct him. Say, Socrates, what you're doing is not good. You're corrupting the youth, and they're going to be bad people, and then they're going to do bad to you in return. Right? And Socrates loves the one-on-one conversations. Of course, that's his whole philosophy and all the dialogues and everything is getting one-on-one with people who think they're wise. And then he exposes their ignorance. Whereas you hated to converse with me or teach me, so you didn't want to pull me aside. So instead, but you indicted me in this court, which is a place of instruction, which is not a place of instruction, but of punishment. So he's saying there's a difference between punishment and instruction. When people do things evil on purpose, then you punish them. But if they're doing something accidentally, then you instruct them. It's a good principle in general to keep in mind. Okay. So we're going to hold off for now. If you want to continue, then you wait for the next video, or if it's already up, you can click on it. Be sure to check out the other stuff on my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.